What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. Joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG, known to many of you all as Paulie D. Paulie, what's happening?
Ooh, what's happening? I just got another bomb dropped on
You
me.
just get bombs dropping all day.
Hornets coach James Borrego says, pregame comments, this is tweeted by Rick Bonnell, their head beat reporter. While the focus will be foremost on the top 10 or so players on the roster, none of those guys will play more than 20 minutes in this first preseason game. So here we go the other way, Back to what you were saying.
It's with Charlotte. Yeah, man. Second day of preseason. I thought yesterday went pretty well. My biggest mistake was not enough Vooch. He was pretty popular.
Mine was Giles for me.
Giles, well, okay, that was the biggest mistake because we talked about that. That was in our face. The revenge narrative, everything was right there. Injuries, we knew that. So you're right. That was on us. That was our biggest mistake. But
When Wood got ruled out, I pivoted one of the 4 plays on the fast break to Vooch. So
yeah,
I don't know why you found him personally, but we'll talk about it.
bro. I mean, shut the fuck up. Yeah, you didn't expect that one, did you? Yeah. You was getting ready for the pro, and I just hit you with the shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's how we do.
Just drop the don't talk to me that
No,
way.
it's not my style, bro. It's not my style. Needless to say, we are on to the second day of the preseason. Doing a special Saturday edition, free edition for the preseason for those of you watching. Paulie D's fast break sheet is up. Got some really good feedback on that for WiseTake Nation subscribers at wisetake.com. That's already up. We'll do some analysis and try to go over some injury stuff on this show. This is something that we plan on doing for the members. We did it last year, obviously, but this will be behind our paywall, something we do for our regular season NBA DFS subscribers. We'll take you into lock. We'll have plenty of free stuff on the YouTube channel and Twitch for during the day, so make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff, support the channel. But this particular show, Leading You Into Lock, we'll be doing Monday through Friday during the regular season once it starts. In the meantime, we're just going to cover preseason, kind of just talk to everybody, kind of show everybody what it is we do and the benefits of having a stream like this, taking you into lock with these two motherfuckers. So, that being said, we got 7 games, Paulie. We'll go game by game real quick, just a little analysis, and again, we'll kind of just see what news we can find. I know you've been having some bombs dropped on you all day. So we'll unleash them little by little. Starting with the Oklahoma City and the San Antonio Spurs, we've got a 219.5 total. The Spurs currently 7-point favorites. Talk to me about the Oklahoma City side, Paulie.
Yeah, this is a side you really need to have exposure to today. 7 games, a lot of studs on this slate, and even though some may not get full run, their raw point ceilings are just significantly higher than the rest of the field. Even a guy like Giannis, who I don't even really love, but he get 40 and 18 minutes. So the value plays on this slate are going to help you kind of jam in a bunch of stutters, and Oklahoma City is missing everybody. By far the most shorthanded team on the slate. Darius Bazley, Dort, Josh Hall, Al Horford, Jackson, Ty Jerome, Darius Miller, Trevor Ariza, all ruled out. The only player, significance that's actually still playing is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He probably will be the most popular player on the slate. Just play him. And then it's which one of these value dudes is going to do the dirt? And Hamad Diallo, who is starting, has done it time and time again in the preseason. Last year, they had a handful of games where Chris Paul sat and other guys were out with injuries. And when Diallo was healthy, he did it. He dominated Summer League. He's done it in preseason. I don't see how he doesn't take close to 20 shots. He's, one of those alpha scoring type that, if he's going to get that type of usage at his price, he's one of the best value plays on the slate. They're also starting Isaiah Roby, who I've seen go off twice. He's a second-year player, and we haven't seen much of him. Power forward, big man. Bigs against San Antonio was a pretty good spot last year, so he's in play. They also got Ken Hervey, probably the backup power forward. Seeing him gone off a few times, but he hasn't gotten much opportunity either. Mike Muscala starting at center. If this was regular season, like I'd probably be interested for those guys, but like as we saw, even on a 5 game slate yesterday, you know, there was like a handful of guys just breaking the slate. Like you talked about Giles and Vooch, and they were kind of all scattered. So it's like you really need to pick the right one or two plays from the games versus getting all these value plays, and we just the pricing structure doesn't doesn't need it, so to speak. When like guys are 11 and 12K, then you would need them. Yeah, you're only going to need like two or three value guys. So SGA, Diallo, the two guys I'll have a ton of, and then like I don't mind mixing in Roby and Hervey. Um, Other than that, though, not too excited about anyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with all of it with the Oklahoma City side. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you just got to play him. I think that, I mean, obviously yesterday Trae Young was really popular and didn't do well at all. But the difference is if Trae Young was 5,900 instead of 87, whatever he was, it wouldn't have hurt you as much. And to be honest, let's be real, it didn't hurt that many. He was in the winning lineup for pretty much every team anyway, but even with the dud. So now just kind of amplify that when you have a player at 5,900. They're expecting him to be that guy going forward. So they said they want him to do more than he did last year, be more involved, and it's not like he was never involved last year. So I expect to see him, albeit on a bad team, I expect to see his price. This is what I expect the cheapest we ever see his price again, going forward on DraftKings with the amount of usage I expect for him. And then with Dort and all these guys out there, like you said, man, preseason hero, summer league hero is what it is. They're gonna need these guys to step up. They got nobody. Where are you at with the bigs? Who are your favorite bigs over here in OKC?
So I'm not really into them. There's others on the slate that I prefer, but like I said, a little bit of Isaiah Roby now that he got announced as the starter at the 4, and then I've seen Ken Hervey, kind of dominate, and bigs against the Spurs is a good spot. So like, I'll get a couple of those guys, but I just like there's a few other value plays I really like on the slate more than these guys. Like the 4K minimum price thing like hurts some. Like an Isaiah Roby would normally be 3K. So like when you measure him up against like say OG and Obi, right, who's gonna play like a starter's minutes, supposedly getting an increase in the offense, and it's only like a $500 discount to Roby. It's hard to really click Roby's name over that. If he was min price 3K like regular season status, maybe we could discuss them. So maybe 5% of Roby, 5% of Hervey, but I'm really targeting guys that I think can like get 30 or more raw points, more so than point per dollar.
I do agree, but being how bare the Thunder are, and just knowing that San Antonio has always had an issue with bigs, like I'm curious with Muscala and Leaf. I expect those two to play a lot of center.
Oh, I forgot all about Leaf. Leaf is a stud. Play Leaf. He's gonna smash. He always smashes in the preseason, like when he gets minutes. Uh, Basically like a point per minute type player. Expect to get 25. I'm totally like when he fell out of the starting lineup, he fell off my screen. But that's the play.
And
TJ Leaf,
his
do
ownership
that.
should also go down. I think he was going to be one of the more popular plays on the slate until Muscala got the start, but that's just more usage for Leaf, man. So let's go. All right, what about the other side?
I love DeJounte Murray. When the bubble reopened, dude was playing awesome, and he was competing with like four mouths. They had Brent Forbes, they had Patty Mills, they had Derek White. Derek White's hurt. Brent Forbes is history. He should play a ton of minutes, and like Popovich has always kind of like eased the vets into the regular season. I don't expect DeRozan, LMA to like play a ton of minutes, but he'll let the young kids do the dirt. Really expecting a lot out of Murray this year, so um, one of my favorite plays on the slate, DeJounte Murray, and then everyone in the nation knows that Lonnie Walker, the fourth, is a Paulie D favorite. I expect him to get minutes, because White and Witherspoon and Keldon Johnson are all out. Big usage guy on the second unit. Give me some of that, and then What's the backup center? Eubanks, big point per minute kind of guy, similar to like a TJ Leaf. Not sure how many minutes he'll get, but uh, fairly confident he'll see around 20-ish, and he could do fairly well in that time.
I'm with it, man. Yeah, the San Antonio, we know that we expect, like you said, the majority of the starters outside of the young guys to be capped. So I'm not too interested in San Antonio outside of DeJounte Murray and said value plays. I know last year that they let Lonnie Walker, I think it was the first game, they let him just go out there for like 28 minutes or 30 minutes or some shit like that. And he went out and made people. He made some people, wildest dreams come true. He ruined others. So pick your side tonight with Lonnie.
We're on him. You're
We were, yes, but there were others who weren't, whose dreams were ruined that day. Dreams were ruined. Next up, Pacers, Cavs, 218 total. Pacers 4-point favorites. Anything on the Pacers?
So new coach. Everyone's expecting them to play very fast this year, so that's exciting. The bonus, first time back in action, coming off that injury. Uh, he was kind of emerging as one of the better bigs in the league. I believe in the talent there. If he gets minutes, he should do whatever he wants to Kevin Love. I like Aaron Holiday. I'm not sure how many minutes Indiana is going to kind of give out. I could see them kind of like, taking it easy on like Miles Turner, Sabonis, and Oladipo, but Aaron Holiday off the bench, I think is kind of like game flow proof or minute proof. Um, Mitch, that's about it. So on the Indiana side, like I like some Cleveland, because it's been so long since they played. The teams that, like you said this on the first show, like, teams that didn't make the reopening bubble, it's been so long since they played. I feel like those teams are more likely to kind of play deeper. And we saw that so far yesterday. Atlanta played their starters fairly, deeper than Knicks played their starters into the end of the game, which was glorious. But yeah, just those dudes on Indy, Aaron Holiday. I don't mind Brogdon. I'm only building 15 teams, so like I don't think I have enough to kind of get there. I don't mind Sabonis just for the raw point ceiling.
Gotcha. Nation, please hit the like button. Those of you just joining us, appreciate all you guys rocking with the nation as we take you into lock. Shout out to Stephen B. Shout out to Chalupas and Chicken, Juwan Holt. See you guys in the chat. Much appreciated. But we got to get more likes, man. The like to current viewer ratio is off. It doesn't meet our standard metric. So let's get those like buttons hit, if you will. Okay. I'm with you on the Pacers deal. I'm only doing 3 teams today, so I'm even more limited. And this is just not a place that I want to spend my thing. Sabonis and Brogdon are my obvious 2. Like, if you're just going to assume that they're going to play into the third quarter, which they very well could. But we have other teams that have kind of told us they're willing to play their guys more. And so, I plan on prioritizing them. What about the other side? Paulie, you said you were interested more on the Cleveland side, and I happen to agree. Talk dirty to me.
Yeah, so another one of these teams didn't play in the reopen. Andre Drummond has been like a preseason all-star most of his career. New role here against a team that's terrible versus bigs at 7-9. Don't see why he doesn't get a double-double. And he had really improved his game last year. Like, he used to be a defensive liability. Last year, he was good. He was, would get blocks, would get steals, get assists. I think he's going to be really low owned as well. So Andre Drummond's kind of one of my favorite sneaky studs. Sexton's out. There's not many guards on this team left. Darius Garland is 4'8". He wouldn't rank in like my top 5 favorite value plays, but he could make a team or two, with my 15 teams today. Like at 4'8", I expect him to play around 30 minutes. And without the Sexton out there taking like 20 shots, there's a lot of usage to go around. They've got a rookie in Isaac Okoro starting at 2. It's unusual for like rookies in their first appearance to kind of take a ton of shots. Drummond and Love, I'm sure will get theirs, but Garland is interesting because of how cheap he is, and the fact that I want to go stars is possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think Drummond would be the highlights. I'm hoping he kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, and I'm hoping that he even finds himself in pretty good mismatch situations, assuming that the Indiana doesn't push as hard as Cleveland does, being that, like Paulie said, Cleveland just hasn't played in a long time. These shittier teams, I hate to call them that, but it's just the truth. But the teams that are weaker, we should expect them to use this preseason a little bit more. I'm not saying that other teams won't, but I think teams that aren't like that will kind of know. Like the Clippers, for instance, like, okay, first half, we were lucky to get that. Let's be real. You got fucking Kawhi and PG in the first game. They played deep into the bubble. We were lucky to get the first half even that we got. But teams like this, like Cleveland, and some of the other, like the Knicks, for instance, although, shout out to Tibbs. Tibbs for president. That's all I'm saying. 2024. Tibbs for president. Let's go. You bring in your starters in the fourth quarter for no damn reason.
Yes.
Love you, Tibbs.
Just in the last 4 minutes, too, like they'd been off, like I'd stopped looking at the game because I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going to see those guys. And 4 minutes ago, up by 13, you bring them back in. It's
a beautiful thing.
Keep being
It's a beautiful thing. We love it. Wouldn't change a thing. But yeah, Drummond, Kevin Love, I'm a little nervous on. He's obviously got tremendous upside. I mean, we've seen those situations where in a quarter he's put up like 30 DraftKings points when he's shooting threes like that. But I think I prefer Drummond and Garland as well. And the other guys, I just like people at other positions a little bit better. We'll go over to the next game. We've got the Raptors and Hornets. This one should be interesting. We have 220 total. Raptors 6-point favorites. We know no Lowry. But you had some interesting information on the Raptors. Tell the nation.
Yeah, so Nick Nurse came out, said he's basically going to play his first and second rotation like a normal regular season game. We could see them play, basically the entire game. He said he's going to play his starters, and then the second unit guys tonight are going to be those that have impressed the most in the preseason. I think we can kind of guess a handful of who the second unit's going to be. And, number one, going up against Charlotte, a team that doesn't offer much resistance, missing Kyle Lowry. There's a lot to like here with Toronto, with a very good chance of having the highest minutes on the slate. Fred VanVleet, he's too cheap. Guy was 8K most of the playoffs, and it really had become the alpha of the team. He even kind of, taking a step ahead of Kyle Lowry. At 6'6", with no Lowry, you play that. OG Anunoby, we saw him kind of shine towards the end of the playoffs, and Nick Nurse has gone on record saying that he's going to have a much larger role this year in the offense. He's insanely way too cheap at 6 or 8. Him or Diallo are probably going to end up being the best point per dollar value plays in the slate, and I think they can both get up over 30 like raw points. Siakam's really cheap at 7-1. Bigs against Charlotte have always done by dirt. Like Norman Powell. I think Aaron Baines is in play. What's his name on the bench? Chris Boucher. When he gets minutes, he dominates. I would be absolutely blown away, shocked if he didn't play on the second unit today. I've heard the coach say that he wants to give Alex Len a look, that he wanted to give DeAndre Bembry some time, that Matt Thomas, a guy who's been there for a little bit now, some time, and Malachi Flynn, he said, would be the backup point guard. So we basically know the 10 guys are right there, maybe one or two other surprises. Knowing that they're going to get that much minutes against a poor team, I like it. I like it a lot. I guess my favorites would be the starters, OG, Freddie B, Siakam.
Yeah,
I do like Chris Boucher a lot.
At this point, like, it's hard not to put. I don't see how you don't put Siakam, VanVleet, and OG, and especially OG because he's the cheapest. But with no Lowry and like him saying he's gonna basically treat this like a regular game, I'm not expecting 35 minutes a player, but I am expecting like 28, 26, 26, right around there for these guys, and they're playing a team that's not very good defensively. It seems like this is just a team that we want to zone in on. And VanVleet, we know what he does when Lowry's out. Siakam, I don't, and like you said, then you can even bleed over into the Norman Powells and the Aaron Baineses. One thing that you and I talked about yesterday was not necessarily that like to call it stacking. It's not the same, but there is something to playing multiple players on one team in the preseason, especially for the fact of, like you said, the coach may elect to play all his starters X amount of minutes. So they may like if one coach is like the Knicks, for instance, if you would have played Elf, Randall, R.J. Barrett, yeah, not everybody smashed, but they all got minutes. So you had a pretty good opportunity. And you probably would have done well. I know Elf did pretty well at his price. Randall did okay. I mean, you got to remember this is not NBA regular season where guys have to go 6x. Like you're looking for the highest raw scores you can compile throughout your team. So I think Toronto is a candidate for one of those teams where I'm just going to play multiple players pretty much in every team at this point. What about the Charlotte side, bro? We heard some bullshit with Charlotte, man. Initially, it seemed like they were going to be one of those teams. Now we're hearing like some wishy-washy bullshit. Talk to me, man.
Yeah, so you know, started off with some good news. They were like one of the few teams we knew they were gonna only play like 10, 11 guys, and it sounded like they were gonna treat it like a normal game. Then we got the Toronto news, and it was like, wow, game stack city, two teams playing against each other, already committing to more minutes than the rest of the field. And then as we opened the show, I dropped that Borrego bomb where he said, yeah, I am going to focus on my first two units, but nobody's going to get more than 20 minutes, putting a damper back on some of the Charlotte. However, they are all most of them are so cheap that even in 20 minutes, um, one most likely could make the winning combination. I doubt more than one though with that few of minutes, But Miles Bridges at 4.9, PJ Washington at 4.4, Devontae Graham at 6.4. We've seen him go for 50s and whatnot. Like they're cheap enough where even in 20 minutes they could make the optimal. Things kind of swing your way, but I don't think I'd put more than two at max, and more so one in a lineup tonight now with that 20-minute cap thing.
Wow, that's your boy. Yeah, it makes me nervous. Initially, I was looking to play a lot of Charlotte guys, and then when I actually started looking at it, it's a little confusing because they're somewhat deep. Like their starting players don't separate a ton from their bench players, which makes things confusing. I think, right? Like I think PJ Washington, as far as like a combination of value and expect a minute expectation, is my favorite, simply because I know that they want to play him at the 5. So if he starts at the 4, that means he's still got to get some reps at the 5. I think that Miles Bridges is also interesting. We saw some of the upside he demonstrated last year when guys were out. Well, now he's on the second unit, so he may have more opportunities to kind of take over. So all tournament type plays, and I think solid tournament plays, because we do expect them to have somewhat of a tight rotation. But them saying that they're not playing anyone more than 20 minutes, that was a kick in the nuts, like straight square kick in the nuts. But there's some guys to take some shots on. LaMelo Bell, a ball. I keep calling him Bell. I think it's the mellow part that makes me say Bell sometimes. But I don't know. There's something about it. Oh, also my shitty fucking eyes. That could have something to do with it. But yeah, LaMelo Ball. Holla. All right. Next up, we've got the Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks. 226 is the total. Bucks 4.5-point favorites at home. What are you doing with Luka Doncic?
You play him, Last year he played a ton of minutes in their first preseason game. There's no Porzingis. They did make the reopening. They did, get into the playoffs. But this is a young team. I expect them to at least come out for the first rotation in the third quarter. And, Luka don't need much, like he's super high point per minute player, super high usage. And, he's going up against Giannis and company. Like, I'm sure he wants to do the 30. And the usage without Porzingis is just massive. Um, I like him. I like him a lot. There's so much good value. It's hard to really get minutes to balance built. Like there are some mid tier players like SGA and Dejounte Murray I like, but they're like 1, 2, maybe 3 balance guys, and then it's too cheap, too stud, or however I can use the word. How is Luka not in the top 5 highest scoring players on the slate?
I agree. It's another situation. 20 minutes, he could outscore a lot of these people that get 30. He could do it in 20. He could do it, especially with no Porzingis.
Yeah. And the rest of the Mavs, though, not too appealing. Like Dwight Powell, at his price would be a pretty good play, but he's come back from injury. I don't see them pushing him a ton of minutes. Um, Tim Hardaway, Jay Rich, Maxi Cleaves. Like, I'm just not, it's just Luka for me today.
The plays. I mean, it's just. I mean, that's what it is for me. Pretty much every slate that Luka's on from Dallas. It's just Luka. It's pretty much it. What about the Milwaukee side with Giannis and now Drew Holiday? I will say this, man. Like Drew Holiday's defense, like over the, we knew obviously we always talk about how good his defense is, but I've heard multiple NBA players over the summer talk about specifically like when asked like who's the toughest defender for a guard, and multiple people have said Drew Holiday. So something to take into account. This is already has been a good defense, and it just got a little bit better, I think, wing wise. Talk to me about Giannis.
Yeah. Exactly what I said for Luka. You could say for Giannis. I don't think Giannis plays as much minutes as Luka, but I feel like the field is kind of thinking that because first of all, the Bucks don't play their guys in the regular season a lot of minutes. Budenholzer is one of the more conservative, keep my guys healthy for the playoff type managers, and Giannis has had all those massive games, in small window for of minutes. But you know, you got the value that him at 9K. It's not going to really kill you to get there. He could easily be in the top 5 highest scoring players on the slate, even in 20 minutes. Like, I don't mind him because I think he's going to be low because everyone knows that information and everyone has the same general opinion. Uh, I just think guys are going to go to like Cad and Booker and some of the studs that we are expecting to play with Luka. I think everyone's going to look at Giannis and be like, you know, it's not worth it. So, initially I was like, I'm not going to play Giannis, and I'm kind of biased. I don't really like Giannis that much, but I do think he's kind of interesting as like a GPP pivot off of like a chalkier kind of cat for Luka. So I don't mind adding Giannis into the pool. Um, the rest of the Bucks, like, not that exciting for me. Like Drew Holiday, he's not going to have as high a usage as he did in the past. Middleton, he's going to be like the fourth man out here. I do have a little bit of interest in DiVincenzo, who won the starting role this year at the 2. Like his game, kind of contributes across all stats. Good rebounder, small white 3-point shooter, good 3-point shooter. That's good for DK. Um, that's it though. It's Giannis and maybe a little DiVincenzo. Everyone else feels just like uh, you know, not enough usage with Giannis hanging around and too many other good players on the team.
Yeah, I'm not really looking to play anyone from Milwaukee outside of Giannis. I will have it. I will probably. I will say probably have a Giannis team, but that's only because
Yeah.
again, in 18 minutes, he could end up being the highest raw scorer. He's just that much of a freak. But I agree
Yep.
with you that it's. When you said it to me in the text was perfect. This guy doesn't play his guys minutes in the regular season. Why the fuck would he do it in the preseason? I think that was the best way to put it.
Yep.
All right. Let's go to the next game. We've got Memphis Grizzlies and Timberwolves. We've got a 225.5 total. Timberwolves 2-point favorites. We'll talk about Memphis first, man. Ja Morant.
He's pricey, and I haven't seen anything concrete that you know tells me what to expect minute wise from these guys. The industry seems to think that Memphis is not going to play their guys all that much. Like most systems have job for projected for like 20, 21 minutes, and that's the most of the Memphis guys. So I'm not sure, but they're probably the second most shorthanded team on this slate. No Winslow, no Jared Jackson. I'm expecting Brandon Clark to mix. Melton's questionable. Kyle Anderson's questionable. So unless they're just gonna like play their starters a little bit and then punt the game. Um, I think the industry could be wrong on that, and I think John Morant will be probably like the lowest owned defensive player on the slate. And I do like the Minnesota side, so like I think it's interesting to bring it back with the Ja or with Jaren Jackson and likely Brandon Clark out. They're kind of struggling with down low. I don't expect Joval to get a ton of minutes in the first preseason game. He's always been like an injury prone kind of dude. Doesn't leave very much in terms of the big guys. Like it's pretty much Gorgie Jang at 4-2, who, when he does get minutes, he's a huge point per minute contributor. Going against Cat in Minnesota, who's terrible against bigs. I think Gorgie Jang is in the conversation, one of the top value plays in the slate. He could do his Giles
Revenge spot too, right? Gorgie, the gorgeous one.
Yeah, gorgeous John started me. So John Morant, this is exactly like the Giles situation. That's funny. Those two are the ones I got my eye on. John Morant, Gorgie, and I do like the Minnesota side. We're about to drop some 7.
Does anybody know how old Gorgie Dang is? Because the dude looks like he's like 45, but he's probably not. Like he's probably like 26 or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Because you always get confused with some guys. Like, oh no, this dude is like I think even Drummond, with that beard and shit. You just assume. I've been playing Drummond for years in fantasy. He's got to be like 50 years old, and he's like 26 or 28 or some shit like that. Gorgie Dang is 30 years old. All right, well, younger than me. Holla. Yeah, I don't have too much to add. It's John Morant. The Gorgie Dang thing, I wish you didn't say that because now I'm kind of like, damn, it is a very similar situation. They don't have, we don't expect Joval to play a lot. They don't have players. They're missing guys. So if it's not Joval, somebody's got to play that position, right? Like Jaren Jackson's out. Brandon Clark is out. So somebody's got to fucking play the minutes. And on the other side, once you take Cat out, not that Cat's a good defender, but once you take Cat off the court, and it's not like we expect Cat to play 30 minutes, they have literally nobody. Even Nas Reed is out, I think, over there. So, yeah, man, maybe this is something that we have to consider stronger than we were before. But I do like John Morant. What about the Minnesota side?
Another one of these teams that did not play during the reopening, for the most part, young. And for the most part, like a lot of these guys are new to this team. They brought back Ricky Rubio, but he hasn't played with any of these guys. He was there so long ago. D'Angelo Russell just got there. I think Cat has played less than 100 minutes combined with these guys. Malik Beasley just got there at the very end of the season last year. They got the first pick in the overall in the draft, Anthony Edwards at Georgia, who looks like he could end up being a stud in this league. He got Jarrett Culver, who is one of those like Malik Monk and get a bucket from anywhere on the court at any time. Was one of the highest scoring players in college 2 years ago. They added Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who, if he were to get minutes, he's a pretty big point per minute guy. I mentioned Ricky Rubio's over there. Don't think he'll play a ton of minutes, being a old veteran, but Josh Okogie's there. There's bodies, so it's like not just easy, like Oklahoma City to know who to go. Cat, one of my favorite raw point plays on the slate. And then, I also like D'Angelo Russell quite a bit. At 8K, I feel like he's going to go like wildly unowned. And, when he's on, that dude can just light it up. And I also like Malik Beasley. As I mentioned, I like Anthony Edwards. I like Jarrett Culver. Minnesota's probably my second or third favorite team to kind of like load up on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of upside. Memphis last year, one of the fastest teams. Defensively, they're atrocious, and they will still be atrocious. You could argue even worse, at least for this game. A lot of their better defenders are actually out. And, the D'Lo thing, I like D'Lo also. And if you think about it, I expect him to get more minutes because I think they want to see what he can do on the ball and off the ball. With Rookie Rubio there playing point guard, obviously they're going to have him off the ball in those situations, but I think they're going to want to see what he and Cat could do together without Rubio on the court also. So It's just speculation. Either way, D'Lo we know has a lot of upside. He also fits in the same bill with the rest of this Minnesota team. These guys have not played. Ricky Rubio did get some bubble action with Phoenix, right? But Cat and these other guys, they haven't played. So I think that they're going to want to make the most of these opportunities. And on top of that, we still, assuming that Memphis plays at the pace they played last year, which is certainly a possibility, then quality of minutes. We may be getting, like, fantasy-wise, like, better quality minutes attacking a team like that doesn't play defense and gives up a lot of fantasy points in general because they play fast. So I'm with you on that. I do like Cat a pretty good amount. I like D'Lo. It's funny, man, for a 7-game preseason slate, like, you look at all these studs, it gets you excited. You know, it gets you excited. Doing dirts.
22 minutes to lock me.
22. Dos and dos. We got 2 more games, so let's speed it up. Denver. Golden State, 223 total. Denver, 3-point favorites. What do you got on Malone, bro?
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows what Malone's going to do. Denver went pretty damn deep this year in the playoffs, so feels like it was just like a month ago that they were out there playing every other night. So, you know, Millsap, Jokic, don't think I'm going to get too much of that. Jamal Murray has to be one of the most mispriced players ever. Like, the guy was dropping 60s almost like every other game in the playoffs, and now he's 5'6". You know, and then Michael Porter Jr., freak mode, starting and going up against Kelly Oubre D. Going to be a good day for Mr. Michael Porter Jr., who, like, last year just totally, you know, after the reopening, emerged as an alpha scorer in the playoffs. They did take him off a bit because he was a defensive liability. Don't see that happening in the preseason. And I expect him to play a good amount of minutes, kind of regardless of the way this thing goes. Major, major upside. The last of my favorite mid-tier plays out there today is, you know, Jamal Murray at 5'6". That's wild. So I don't mind him either.
Yeah, I expect him to be popular. You know, it's funny, when I was going through a lot of builds, I was finding myself not really on them, and it's because of what you said about the stars and scrubs approach. There's so much value that I know I want to get, and, like, I don't want to leave too much money on the. I don't mind leaving some. It's the preseason, but I don't want to leave too much, and like that could lead to Murray maybe not being as popular as he should be, right? Like, he would normally be, like, people see that price regular season, it's no doubter. Like, yeah, forget it. So I don't know.
So one thing about this, like, as I mentioned, I don't expect Denver to push their guys. Golden State coaches already said their starters only get 20 minutes. Steve Kerr is one of the most honest, like, you know, everything he always says kind of like he follows through with in terms of, you know, what he's going to do with his players. So you just see this game, like, just going to the second and third units after halftime. And, like, you know, maybe looking good in the first half with Jamal Murray, and then you get your heart broken when he doesn't come out to play in the second half. I'm nervous about that for this game.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't. I see myself playing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over him, and I see myself at this point playing Fred VanVleet over him, because I think that both those teams, not only do they have the role increases, but we anticipate both those players and those teams to play their guys more minutes.
Right.
Dirty style. I do like Michael Porter Jr. as well. Kelly Oubre D. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Last game, Suns, Jazz, 221.5 total. Jazz 2-point favorites. What you got on Phoenix? Oh, shit, I skipped over the Warriors. I skipped over the Warriors. My bad.
I was going to have much to say about them, so it's fine. But I do think Jordan Poole off the second unit, I think he could, you know, play the entire second half. Damian Lee, he's 4'4". Like, you know, that's it. You know what I mean? Marcus Chris is a little too pricey. If he was cheaper, he'd be in that. But Damian Lee, Jordan Poole, you know, if Curry gets his 20 minutes in the first half, they don't play the second, those guys are going to play the whole second half. You know, against Denver backups, that could be juicy. Otherwise,
Curry's a scary one not to have. I don't have any right now, but he's a scary one kind of, because he's another one like Kevin Love, but better. Where, like, in one quarter he could put up 30 points, and you're just like, shit. Like, he has a whole other quarter I have to sweat. It's just like, you know what I mean?
And he's gonna have
massive, bro. No Draymond, no Clay. It's just massive. Like, the usage is gonna be massive. But he could play the less minutes than any other stud out there. He could play 15 minutes tonight. That's the thing. Kerr's been very cautious with everything. He had no problem with his team sucking last year. He'll go 2 years if he
it's
has to. He don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
yep,
He don't give a fuck.
yep,
Maybe
yep.
I will try to find some Curry. I don't know. Anyway, yeah,
Uh,
fuck it, man. Nuts out. Let's go. Nuts out, butts out. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, Suns.
yeah, yeah. Chris Paul's out. Dario Saric is out. Cam Johnson's questionable. I'm curious to hear about that. Like, if he were to get ruled out too, it just kind of would solidify like Mikal Bridges getting minutes regardless. So Cameron Payne is expected to start for Chris Paul. He feels pretty safe to kind of play almost the whole game. I do like Devin Booker. Phoenix did play in the reopening. They went undefeated and still didn't make the playoffs. I don't mind them. I don't see why they wouldn't play Booker, DeAndre Ayton, at least into the first rotation of the second half. Um, they won't be popular. You know what I mean? So Devin Booker is an interesting contrarian stud, similar to like D'Angelo Russell. DeAndre Ayton is a terrible spot against Rudy Gobert, but he's a guy we're going to be playing a lot this year. You bet your bottom dollar. That's really it, though. Like, Cameron Payne's all right as a value play. We've seen him take a ton of shots, and like in the second half, without Booker, he could kind of do some alpha dog shit. But that's really it.
I feel like one guy I don't mind, and I don't know if we need him anymore. We talked about a bunch of value centers. We got Baines. There's a bunch of them out there. But Jalen Smith is someone they drafted 10th overall, and it sounds like he's supposed to back up Ayton. So I could see him getting a little bit more run in the preseason, being that I would assume they plan on playing Ayton big minutes during the season, because they did last year. The Suns were one of those teams that were not afraid to play guys big minutes. Man, they drove guys into the ground. So I would assume that if you want to take a look at him, now's your time. I mean, you picked him 10th overall. I would think that you want to see what he's got. Holla, Jazz side.
Yep. 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 Um, I haven't seen much on the Jazz today, so like uh, they could play their starters 15 minutes, we're lowest on the slate, or they could let them kind of go. I don't have the info, so I'm not gonna make something up. But I think I'll maybe end up with like one team with a handful of Jazz exposure. Like Jordan Clarkson at four. What's his price? I don't think he's that cheap. I think he's like 5'3" ish or something like that. I don't mind him. Um, I don't. I think you could play Donovan Mitchell. Conley's not there. After that, I don't know. That kid Gerald Brantley was really good. When he did get minutes last year, like there's a couple games where Utah just like punted and sat the few not injured starters that they still had, and like Brantley had a couple pretty big games. Then there's just too much other good shit on the slate. I think you could almost just X out outside of Clarkson the whole Utah team.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, again, Mitchell, you could add to the list of people that have upside that won't get played a ton. I think there's just too many
Yeah,
guys that'll go by before people play him. But it's hard to make a true argument other than that. And we don't know. I haven't heard anything from Utah either. So news wise, we don't know. It's dirty dick style.
yeah.
Here's a question from Aaron Lambert. Who in the hell do we play on FanDuel? I know we can literally play anyone we want, but shit is confusing. So yeah, man, like, it's like if you could have anything you want, go. And you're like, shit, I don't know. That's what FanDuel is.
Like I recommend correlating. Like not crazily, but like sure. You're gonna play Giannis, you're gonna play Luka, you're gonna play Cat. You know what I mean? But like if you have Cat, then maybe you throw um D'Lo into that lineup. You know what I mean? And like come back with like a John Morant. So it's like you're still playing studs, but you're kind of correlating them a little bit. But I mean, how do you like not play the guys with the highest 12-point ceilings regardless of minutes and try to get the right combination? I think on FanDuel, depending on how many teams you have, you try to correlate a little bit more so than just the guy you think going to have to come on point.
I think that's a really good approach. Like, I feel like take like 4 guys from like Toronto, let's say, right? That where you're just playing for the correlation. You're playing because this coach says he's going to play his guys the most. So you're just hoping that these 3 or 4 players, or maybe it's 3 players that you think are going to play the most, and then pick the next best fucking options that fit with them. You know, like who's the best? Like, you know, like that's it. Just like which is anyone, but I guess just go ahead and play for the rest of it. Just play the guys you like the most. Play the fucking Lukas if you want them, or play the Cats if you want them, and you know, dip it that way.
Dip
it like that. Let's see what we got here. Boy Jeff says, glad to see you guys back. Nation is back. Do you drop 30s in the preseason, or do we wait until the real season? Either way, I'm ready. We do it all day. Like anything we do is dirty. You know what I mean? That's what we do. Chalupas and chicken. What's your core for today, Slate Paulie? It's on his fast break, bro. It's on his fast break.
Yeah, bro. But you know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, DeJounte Murray, Hamidou Diallo, Fred VanVleet. That's probably the core right there, you know. And then I mix and match the studs and other value plays that we talked about.
Chalupas and chicken, my mistake. He is a member, so all good, bro. All good, bro. But yeah, that is good. Glad you're. And that's the other thing, important part. I'm glad actually that our boy Chalupas brought this up, because that's one of the benefits we're gonna have with the fast break. Obviously, when we're on a stream, it's tough for you to make those updates. So before the stream, we'll have the final one up, and then because this show will normally be behind the paywall, those of you subscribe will be able to get the updated information from the sheet. Shout out to you, our boy Chalupas and chicken. Torrent Edwards, I like Boucher and Terrence Davis. I mean, yeah, they're definitely jip hip hip worthy. You know, guys with some upside. You know,
I'm a little worried about Terrence Davis. You know, like I listed the guys that like I felt were pretty obvious, and some that Nurse made those comments about. Terrence Davis is potentially facing a long suspension, and like I don't know, like why would you dedicate time to a guy who is very likely going to miss something? So I'd be careful with him.
Careful all day. Let me ask you a question. I've got 3 Raptors on a team, right? I got 3 already. This is DraftKings. I got 3 Raptors on a team. I am left with, say, 46, 47, 4,800. Do I finish off the 3 Raptors?
Is it a utility?
Yes, utility. Do I finish it off with Baines and go 4 Raptors, right? Big against Charlotte? Or do I say, fuck it, go Big Dick Lonnie Walker?
Do you have a Charlotte player on that team?
Do I have a Charlotte player?
Yeah, do you? I'm asking. Do you have a Charlotte player?
And I'm checking.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Do you have money left on the table on that?
Yes, I have 300.
Nah, that's not. I'd say no. I'd say stick with 3. You know,
stick with. That's what I was thinking, and like just not, especially because I'm not playing in massive contests. I'm in like smaller, like 100-man type fields, so it's like, you know, get a little diversification. You do like Lonnie Walker though, right? Who in that range do you like the most? It's got to be Lonnie. Right?
What's the price?
Well,
range?
up to 49, I guess, because I have Lonnie in there and I have 300 available. I've already got Diallo. I've already got OG. You know.
Yeah.
Holla.
I like these kind of questions. So there's a lot of guys that are viable. You know, Jordan Clarkson, Cameron Payne, Damian Lee, PJ Washington, Gorgie Dang, if you want to leave even more on the table. But yeah, you know, Lonnie Walker, I like a lot. But yeah, he's
gotta
cool.
be Lonnie, bro. Gotta be Lonnie.
Lonnie.
Hey, Lonnie. My dude. I don't see any questions from the nation, bro. We got about what, 9 minutes? It's you know, we can hang out with the wang out, but could just get the fuck up out of here, build the teams, and do dirties.
Yeah, let me take a quick scan over the news feed, see if anything dropped in the last few seconds.
News.
No, nothing of value.
Ain't nothing.
Nope.
Ain't nothing. D Millie in the Slack. Diallo, the alpha brother man. Yes, he is. Alpha plays all day. That's what we do. Paulie, anything in closing before we let the nation go?
No, man. Good luck tonight. And is you got a bunch of teams, your work ain't over because a handful of pivots later in the day, depending on your rosters are going, is smart thing to do out there. I'll let you boy.
Don't forget NFL tomorrow. My article will be dropping later. Patty Joe's articles up, the projections, all the NFL stuff up except for my article and Paulie's article, which will be up between tonight and tomorrow. All right, one last question because we got it. Torrent Edwards for DK, who you playing a utility? Let me just ask you that question. Like, if you don't even price, nothing don't matter. Like, because he didn't give us no details. Torrent, please give us some details if you can. But if I'm just like, bro, I got utility. Who am I playing? Like, just first player comes to your head, assuming I already have SGA and like Van Fleet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, bro, utility. I got like 20 seconds.
Yeah, I like DeJounte Murray a lot. I think Cat has a very good chance of being the highest scoring player on the slate. So, Cat, DeJounte Murray, anybody that's in my core.
Boom. I like that answer. I like it. All right, we're getting out of here, Nation. We appreciate you guys. Good luck today. No preseason content tomorrow. Sunday is football day, so no preseason content on Sunday. But we will resume it Monday. Monday through Saturday is what we do. Monday through Saturday. Be ready. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.